I went into labor 5 days past my due date, and I started feeling contractions about 4 in the morning. They were mild, but 5 minutes apart. And my dog, Dr. Noodleman, crawled into bed with me, and I just stayed there doing that for a while. They weren't intense yet, so I was in complete denial. I was like, I am not. No, not today. And then I had an appointment with my midwives that day because I was 5 days late and they wanted to check my fluid or check my whatever. So I called because I didn't want to go to that appointment, and I said, hey guys, I think I'm in early labor. I want to skip this appointment. And they said, you have to come in. And I was not happy with that. But my husband drove me and he said, should I bring the bag? And I was like, no, do not bring the bag. I'm going to be in labor for 16 days. So please don't bring the bag. It will just be bad luck. And we live like 30 minutes from the hospital, so it's like a schlep. So we drove to the hospital, and contractions got more intense on the car ride, still 5 minutes apart, but starting to get longer and starting to get more like, oh yeah, maybe this is labor. I'd been a doula for a couple years before having a baby, so I think that contributed to my complete denial about labor, because I was like, I'm not going to be one of these like excited ladies who goes to the hospital too early, and this is what they sort of encouraged me to do. So at the hospital, they wanted to check me, and I said, please don't check my cervix. I'm sure I have made no change. I'm not in labor, and I'm going to have this baby like in 64 days from now. And they said, no, I think we should check you. And so when they checked me, I was 4 centimeters dilated and 100% effaced and 0 stations. So you're not going, you're staying. And then my husband was mad because he had to drive an hour round trip to get this back. So I think in the interim, my doula came and they admitted me to a room at the hospital. And at this point, labor was like kicking in, and so it had gone beyond like tiny cramps and into sort of like some more intense stuff. And it hurt, but it was also like strangely manageable. They filled the tub for me because after going to lots of labors, I was like, oh yeah, the tub, I'm gonna love the tub. And I like a bath, but not in labor. So I got in the tub, like up to my shins, and I just stomped, like I held on to the front part of the tub and I just stomped in the water up to my shins for a long time, maybe for a few hours. And I had my husband and my doula were there, and I remember looking out over the bathtub and seeing 2 little sets of brown eyes, and that was super helpful. And then I remember things took a turn and it became much more intense. And in my doula mind, I was like, ooh, this must be transition, because I don't want to be done. I didn't want an epidural. I just wanted to like not do this anymore. And I remember looking at those 2 sets of brown eyes and saying, you guys, things I had seen other women do to me in labor. And it's a sense of like, please save me. So I think at that point I got out and they wanted to check me, and I was 10 centimeters dilated and +2, so the baby was low. And I remember having a sensation of tears like shooting straight out of my eyeballs because I was so thrilled that I had gotten that far. And I looked at my doula and I said, please don't let me push for 3 hours. And then I think I pushed for like 5. So pushing was really, really difficult for me. I did not have an urge to push, which most women do when they get to 10 centimeters and they're unmedicated. But I just didn't. And I think I was also afraid. So I spent a bunch of hours like pretending I was pushing. And I thought it was very believable, but it clearly was not getting the baby out. So the midwife would check periodically and she'd say, you know, like nothing, like, I don't know what you're doing, but it's not working or whatever. So, but I think nobody was interested in directing me because I had seen a lot of births, and I clearly, like, I wasn't unhappy. I was just like doing my thing. It just wasn't like getting this child out of my body. So finally the midwife said, I think you should get an epidural, and I think you should get some Pitocin. And like 25% of me was like, an epidural? Huh, that sounds like it might just be delicious right now. But then most of me was like, really? My story is going to be, I got an epidural at 10 centimeters and +2. So I said, well, if I don't want that, what's my other option? She's like, get up and push your baby out. Oh, all right, well then I guess I'll do that. So I remember getting onto my knees and getting some like direction, like some pushing direction. And then I think within the hour, this child was born. This child who we were absolutely 100% convinced was a boy came out. And the midwife said, and she's a girl. And my husband said, then we must be in the wrong room because we're having a boy. And that is the story of Lily's birth.